4 decades ago, before she was a possible presidential candidate, before she was even Hillary Clinton, Hillary Rodham was a 27-year-old trial lawyer in Arkansas with a southern drawl and big ambitions. She was asked by a judge to defend a 42-year-old man accused of raping a 12-year-old girl. Now, Clinton was able to plea bargain down the sentence to just 1 year in prison, which was then reduced to time served. But the victim, who is now 52 years old, is speaking out to the Daily Beast and saying that one of the most famous women in the world put her through hell. She also has a message now for the former Secretary of State.
You lied on me. I just realized the truth of it. It's hard back in '06 after I got out of prison. I just studied a little bit. I realized the truth now, hard of what you done to me. I said to the other man, you're supposed to be it for women? Do you call that for women? What you done to me? And I heard you on tape laughing.
She first spoke out in 2008 at an interview with reporter Glenn Thrush published in Newsday. These new comments come after an audio recording of an interview with Mrs. Clinton from the early 1980s was dug up by the conservative website The Washington Free Beacon. In that clip, Mrs. Clinton seems to admit she knew the defendant was guilty.
It took a lot of taking tests. I had to tolerate. When she passed, she forever destroyed my faith in tolerance.
So in the 1975 affidavit, Clinton wrote of the victim, "I have been informed that the complainant is emotionally unstable with a tendency to seek out older men and engage in fantasizing." Clinton, as we said, ultimately bargained down the sentence on a technicality involving evidence that was accidentally destroyed. But the victim says her life was ruined as well and now says she's ready to stand up.
When I heard that tape, I was pretty upset. I went back to the room and was talking to my two cousins, and I cried a little bit. I ain't gonna lie. Some of this has got me pretty down, but I thought to myself, I'm gonna stand up to her. I'm gonna stand up to what I got to stand up for, you know.
Josh Rogan is a senior correspondent for national security and politics at the Daily Beast. He spoke with the victims. Josh gave us these tapes. He broke this part of the story and joins me now, along with CNN legal analyst Paul Callan. Josh, I want to start with you here. You know, what can you tell me about this woman?
Well, this woman has had a tough life since the fateful events of 1974. She struggled with the injuries that she sustained, years of therapy, anger issues. She battled drug addiction. She spent some time in prison. She lives on disability in Arkansas, unemployed. She never got married. She never had any children. She doesn't attribute this all to those events, but she said it definitely contributed to her life kind of spiraling out of control, from which she never recovered. She was never really upset with Hillary Clinton or Hillary Clinton's actions in this case until she learned very recently, because of the documents and videos revealed that you just pointed out, that Hillary Clinton had accused her of some sort of culpability in her own attack. And then when she heard the tape of Hillary Clinton laughing about her attacker's guilt, she decided that she just couldn't take it anymore, and she wanted to put her side of the story out in the public for the record.
So she heard how Hillary Clinton handled the case back in 1975. That was part of it. That's why I want to bring in Paul Callan, our legal analyst here. Paul, I should say CNN has reached out to Mrs. Clinton for comment. They didn't respond. But in 2008, in a Newsday article, then Clinton spokesperson Howard Wolfson defended the conduct, saying, as an attorney and an officer of the court, she had an ethical and legal obligation to defend him to the fullest extent of the law. To act otherwise would have constituted a breach of her professional responsibilities. She was a lawyer, a defense lawyer, doing her job.
Well, absolutely. And of course, Abraham Lincoln defended criminals. John Adams defended criminals. So it's always hard when a lawyer runs for office because you get cherry-picked on certain cases. But I think the real criticism here, and, I just came from a deposition with a bunch of hardened New York lawyers around the table, and I said, I'm going to be going to CNN. I played them the tape. And they were all shocked when they heard that she was laughing about a case in which she got a guy who raped a 12-year-old girl off, or got a lighter sentence for it. But then we played the tape. And everybody was, well, what's going on here? There's nothing, she doesn't really do anything that's strange. If you listen to the whole tape, She's not laughing about the fact that she got somebody off. She's laughing about the process. She's talking about, for instance, she flew up to Brooklyn to get the world's leading expert on blood samples, and the prosecutor was very upset about that. So she laughs about the prosecutor being upset. She's never laughing about a victim not getting justice. It's kind of it's a lawyer telling a lawyer tale. What bothers me about it is, notwithstanding the Southern accent, which I think is a little much for a woman from Illinois, is that she's got a tin ear for how people in general, the public, would react to this. Now, remember, Bill Clinton's active in politics by this time.
This is the 80s, though, too.
Right.
I mean, it's a long time ago. I know Bill Clinton was active in politics, but she's giving some kind of legal interview. And as you say, the full context, people read into it what they want, but it's hard for us to know exactly what was going on in that room without seeing the video or speaking to Mrs.
Well,
Clinton.
I can tell you, though, John, we lawyers like to brag about, we tell war stories about our great cases. But if you represent somebody accused of a child rape, that's one you kind of don't talk about too much. And I'm telling you, that's the way it is with lawyers, even the best of lawyers.
Josh, this story first came out in 2008 when Mrs. Clinton was a candidate. Now she's just probably a candidate. And this time the victim is out speaking. I think a lot of people are wondering, because obviously this is in the middle of a swirl of politics, has she been speaking to anyone? Did anyone approach her and say, you should be talking about this? Has she been involved at all in politics?
I think we have to be careful here. One, not to blame the victim, and two, not to sort of attack this straw man argument. No one's saying that this alleged rapist didn't deserve a vigorous defense. What they're saying is, were Hillary Clinton's accusations within the bounds of that vigorous defense? Was there any evidentiary basis for them? Did she go too far in her zealousness to win the case? And I think these are questions that she's going to have to answer if she runs for president, especially as a champion of women and girls. As for the victim herself, her story is clear and on the record, and I'll let her speak for herself in that regard.
Do you think this will become a political issue?
I think that these are open questions, and I think that Hillary Clinton deserves the opportunity to answer those questions, and she hasn't availed herself of that opportunity. But until she does, I think those questions won't go away.
And Paul, you were nodding your head no when Josh was questioning whether Mrs. Clinton did anything beyond the bounds of normal legal defense.
I think what people have to understand is that a defense lawyer's job is not to present false evidence, and she did not present any false evidence. It's to create reasonable doubt about the prosecutor's case. The prosecutor threw away the blood evidence in the case, and it couldn't be tested at the time of trial. So there was minimal evidence available, physical evidence, to prove the rape. And she just brought that to the prosecutor's attention, and he folded.
Paul Callan, great to see you. Josh Rogan, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on with your reporting.